Good evening. Thanks for joining us today. This evening, my name is Dolores Garcia. I'm a public affairs specialist with the Bureau of Land Management located at the Arizona State Office. Thank you for taking the time this evening to invest in your public lands and learning more about how you can participate and be an active role, take an active role in our public lands, in your public lands. We have a few rules of order to go over this morning or this evening as far as the presentation goes. Respect for everyone here in the room, as well as your fellow members of the public. We ask for to be polite in using the Q&A options that will be at the bottom of your screen and or the chat box to ask any questions throughout the session today. They will not be answered until the end of the presentation. At that time, we will open up a question and answer session, and we may ask you to unmute yourself if you do pose a question and or you have a question. Also, we will ask that if you do have a question, that you raise your hand and we'll call on you accordingly and ask you to unmute. Again, questions will be addressed at the end of this presentation. Also note that public input during this meeting will not be counted as official public comment. We're going to show you in this presentation how to make public comment via our story map and a few other ways. We ask that any comments be shared through those official channels. Those must be issued in writing, and we have extended the comment period until June 26th. With that, I will turn it over to the Deputy State Director, Jerry Davis.
Hey, Dolores, it looks like I'm blocked from turning video on.
Oh, let me change that. There you go. Sorry about that.
Of course. Welcome to this information session on the Bureau of Land Management's Arizona's 5 recreation fee proposals. I'm Jerry Davis, the Deputy State Director for Resources and Planning for BLM Arizona. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us this evening to learn more about what the BLM is proposing, how and why we developed these proposals, and how you can provide input vital to our process. Public lands are special. More than ever, public lands are great places for us to experience the beauty of nature, connect with family and friends, improve our mental and physical health, and so much more. The past 5 years really re-emphasized how important public lands are to us, and the BLM Arizona wants to ensure that public lands continue to offer visitors a great experience now and into the future. Thank you for your support of public lands. Now I will turn it over to Miley Adler, Outdoor Recreation Planner and BLM Arizona's Branch Chief for Recreation, Cultural, and Planning, to walk us through the process and BLM Arizona's proposals.
Thank you, Jerry. As Jerry mentioned, public lands are special. These images depict examples of some of those special places that are included in the fee proposals we will be going over in more detail later in this presentation. Public lands provide an array of settings that support countless outdoor recreational experiences. Shown here are just some of those recreational opportunities available in Arizona. Currently, the BLM administers 29 recreation fee sites or areas in Arizona where fees are charged, whereas the vast majority of the 12.1 million acres of public lands in Arizona are fee-free to enjoy. The purpose of tonight's session is to invite you to provide the BLM with your comments on the 5 recreation fee proposals currently in the public comment period. First, we will provide you with the background and key information about what the BLM is proposing and why. Next, I will show you where you can learn more about each specific fee proposal in the form of a draft business plan. Lastly, I will show you how you can help the BLM by submitting your written comments on our fee proposals by June 26th. The Federal Lands Recreation Enhancement Act of 2004 is the law that authorizes the BLM to collect recreation fees in accordance with certain criteria. One of the benefits of the recreation fee program is that the Federal Lands Recreation Enhancement Act, or FLREA, allows the fees collected to be invested right back into the sites and areas where those fees are collected. Put another way, the fees paid by users of these sites and areas directly benefits those sites. The BLM can use recreation fees to repair, maintain, and enhance facilities, provide visitor information and visitor services, provide law enforcement, and habitat restoration, which is directly related to wildlife dependent recreation, including hunting, fishing, wildlife observation, and photography, as well as cover direct operating costs with the recreation fee program. To reiterate, 100% of the recreation fees collected at sites are reinvested directly back into the local recreation program to maintain and improve recreational opportunities. And it's important to remember that the vast majority of the 12.1 million acres of BLM administered lands in Arizona are and will remain free to enjoy at any time. So why now? We developed these fee proposals for a variety of reasons. Visitation on public lands in Arizona has climbed from 4.9 million in fiscal year 19 to 6.8 million in fiscal year 2023. That's an increase of nearly 2 million visitors in just 5 years. In addition to the increased visitation, our operating expenses have increased. However, our recreation budget per visitor has fallen. Some sites in Arizona have not increased their fees in over 2 decades. Lastly, the Federal Lands Recreation Enhancement Act specifically requires the BLM to consider comparable fees charged elsewhere and by other public agencies and nearby private sector operators, which we refer to here as the market analysis. BLM Arizona conducted that market analysis, and it revealed that BLM fee rates are below other providers. Fees are only one part of the BLM's comprehensive funding strategy to support recreation sites and services. Other parts of the strategy include appropriated funding, volunteer assistance, interagency cooperation, grants, and partnerships. The BLM bases decisions about whether to charge a fee on the criteria set forth in the Federal Lands Recreation Enhancement Act, which includes the market analysis I described earlier, as well as public participation. We drafted these fee proposals, and we are seeking your input. So stepping back for just a moment to the 30,000-foot level, many of you know that outdoor recreation is a huge economic driver in the West. More than 120 urban centers and thousands of rural towns are located within 25 miles of BLM lands. Their recreational resources provide critical economic support and quality of life benefits to local communities and businesses, attracting visitors from across the country and even abroad. Today, recreation on public lands annually contributes more than 11.4 billion with a B in economic output and supports about 76,000 jobs nationwide. In August 2023, the BLM established a new vision in the Blueprint for 21st Century Outdoor Recreation to proactively manage for exceptional and unique recreational experiences that invite all to share in the enjoyment and stewardship of their public lands. This effort in Arizona to modernize management of recreation fees of recreation sites and areas advances implementation of the blueprint by proactively responding to the demands and diversifying funding sources to enable BLM to continue to provide quality recreational experiences at these sites. Okay, so we've looked at why the BLM developed fee proposals. Now we're going to cover what the BLM includes in their recreation fee proposals and where to find them. First off, the BLM documents recreation fee proposals in the form of a business plan. The business plan describes the basis to charge a fee in compliance with the law, Paria, the cost of administering the fee sites, and priorities for future expenditures, among other things. Each of the draft business plans we are seeking your input on address the following topics, from the authority for BLM to charge a fee to describing the public outreach efforts. Each plan also has an executive summary at the beginning of each document. I'd like to point out that for all the existing fee sites that Arizona currently administers, the operating expenses are far greater than the recreation fee revenue collected. You will see this identified in the operating costs and revenue sections of each plan. Now that we've covered what's included in the draft business plans, let's take a moment to look at recreation-related fee changes that cannot be processed through the that cannot be proposed through the business planning process. While Paria allows the BLM to collect recreation fees for commercial, competitive, organized group, and vending special recreation permits, these fees are set by the BLM director and are therefore beyond the scope of the business plans. However, the recreation use fee associated with individual special recreation permits for use of special areas such as Paria Canyon or Coyote Buttes are set by the BLM state director and do follow the public participation requirements of Paria. Paria authorizes the BLM to charge an expanded amenity fee for the use of reservation services. These fees can range depending on the type of service provided. Most of these services are provided through the interagency reservation service recreation.gov. The reservation service is subject to contracting requirements and will be adjusted with contract changes. Lastly, BLM is allowed to charge recreation cost recovery fees under a different authority than Paria. This is the website where you will find each of the draft business plans for public comment. To give you a better sense of where we are at in the recreation fee proposal process and what comes next, this diagram shows how we started with that market analysis, comparing fees charged elsewhere by other operators for similar opportunities, and where the BLM's fee rates were below the market value. The local office developed the draft business plan to identify our operating expenses, our current revenue, and use that market analysis to help inform the proposed fee rates. That plan then went to the BLM Arizona State Office, where it was reviewed. And then it went on to BLM headquarters for a review there. This brings us to where we're at today, seeking your public input during the public comment period for these draft plans. Next, BLM will consider comments received and may revise the draft plans. After that, BLM will present the draft plans to the Arizona Resource Advisory Council, or RAC, at a public meeting. The RAC will make a recommendation to the BLM on the fee proposal. And then BLM will consider the RAC and public's input. And if approved, BLM would implement the fee changes. To date, this list highlights the core public outreach that we have completed. We have a story map, which I'll show you what that looks like in a few slides, that shows what the fee proposals are and where all of the sites are located. We've conducted virtual information sessions. We've done outreach to media outlets around the state. We've used our social media to notify the public. And we've done outreach to congressional staffs, governor's office, federal and state agencies, tribes, county and municipal contacts, interest groups, as well as the Resource Advisory Council. In addition, we have also posted flyers at the existing and proposed fee sites announcing the public comment period and requesting public input. Now I'm going to show you where to go to learn more about each of the 5 draft business plans. This slide shows the 5 business plans we are seeking your input on. Some plans contain more than one fee site or proposed fee sites, and I will walk through each of the plans listed in the next few slides. The map on the right shows the location of each of the existing or proposed fee sites included in these draft business plans. You can access the interactive story map online using the link Dolores will provide in the chat. The BLM Arizona Strip Office Virgin River Canyon Recreation Area Business Plan covers the Virgin River Canyon Recreation Area. The recreation area includes a campground and day use area. When you select Virgin River Canyon Recreation Area in the story map, the map zooms into the site. You can zoom in and out of the map as desired. The story map also summarizes the current and proposed fee changes and provides links, shown here with the green buttons, to the visitor information page for the site, as well as a direct link to review the draft business plan. Also noted is the last time fees were increased at this site. In this case, the BLM has not increased the fees at this site since 1998. The BLM Kingman Field Office Amenity Fee Sites Business Plan covers 3 campgrounds: Burrow Creek, Wild Cow Springs, and Windy Point. The next few slides are screenshots from the story map, which again provide the current and the proposed fee changes, as well as an interactive map and a brief description of each site. For the Kingman Field Office's campgrounds, fees have not changed in 15 years. So this one shows Burrow Creek. Here's Wild Cow Springs. And lastly, Windy Point. The BLM Lake Havasu Field Office Amenity Fee Sites Business Plan covers Lake Havasu shoreline sites, Bullfrog Day Use Area, Crossroads Campground, and the proposed Quail Hollow Campground. So again, I'll just walk through what those proposals are. This slide shows Lake Havasu shoreline sites. The day use and overnight fees were last increased in 2002. However, the annual pass was last increased in 2006. There's Bullfrog. Crossroads Campground, also last increase in 2002. And the proposed Quail Hollow Campground, currently this is a free day use area. The BLM will evaluate through the NEPA process the construction of this proposed campground. Should a decision be made to authorize construction of this proposed campground and the construction is completed, the BLM proposes to charge the following fees. The Paria Canyon, Coyote Butte Special Management Area and White Pocket Business Plan covers Coyote Butte's North Permit Area, Coyote Butte's South Permit Area, and the Paria Canyon Permit Area. The BLM is proposing to charge a standard amenity fee at White Pocket, which would be a new fee site if approved. And I'll just walk through the different screenshots from our story map. Fees were last increased at these permit areas in 2008. And then, as I mentioned earlier, White Pocket would be a proposed new fee site. The BLM Phoenix District Office Recreation Shooting Sports Sites Business Plan proposes to charge fees at 8 developed shooting sports sites. 4 sites are already operational, and 4 more are in the planning and development phase. The sites have been popular with local recreation users, leading to high visitation and extensive use. Since the 4 sites opened in fiscal year 2023, an estimated 149,000 people have visited these sites. So the map on the right shows the location of each of the 8 sites. And then on the left, you can see the list. The top 4 are the existing shooting sports sites. And then the next 4 have not been built yet. Additionally, our BLM recreation fee policy encourages us to use an index for routine adjustments to fees and to get public input on establishing the method and the index rather than reviewing each individual future fee adjustment. Some of the benefits of using an index for future adjustments include the BLM would not be introducing steep fee changes in the future. Instead, the fees would evolve in tandem with the changing costs of goods and services. The proposal identified in each draft plan is if or when the Consumer Price Index, or CPIU, increases by 20%, the BLM would have the option to implement a fee adjustment of 20%. We are seeking your input on the model we developed using the Consumer Price Index, CPIU, annual average as the index. The CPIU is the broadest and most comprehensive measure of the rate of inflation for goods and services, representing over 90% of the total US population. We're thrilled you've joined this information session. We want to hear your input on the draft business plans we developed. So now I'm going to go over how to submit your comments. Official comments are accepted in the following ways: email, mail, or hand-delivered to the office. Comments posted to our social media pages are not considered official comments. And lastly, comments must be in writing and submitted by June 26. The unique email or mailing address to send or drop off your written comments by June 26 for each draft plan can be found at either the story map link that Dolores provided, the draft business plan website that Dolores also provided. When you click on each of the linked draft plans on that website, you will find the email and office addresses to send your comments to. And then lastly, if you opened one of the draft business plan files, you will also find the email and office addresses listed at the beginning of the plan in what we call the Dear Reader letter. And I'll show you what that looks like. So on the left is a screenshot of what it looks like on the story map. Bottom center is what it looks like on the business plan website. And then top right is what it looks like when you find the address within the Dear Reader letter of each plan. So because we did the market analysis statewide, we are also working on drafting business plans for these other offices. The public comment period for these business plans will not start until we've completed the comment period for the 5 business plans currently available. But these are the plans that are coming soon: Stafford Field Office, Tucson Field Office, Yuma Field Office's long-term visitor areas, Yuma Field Office's amenity fee sites, both expanded and Standard, Phoenix District Campgrounds, and the State Line Campground. So I'd encourage you to follow us on blm.gov or X, formerly known as Twitter, or Facebook to keep up to date on our progress and to find out when we'll be releasing when these next batch of business plans will be available for public comment. And with that, open it up for questions.
Thank you, Miley. As a reminder, I've placed the referenced links in the chat. If you are having difficulty seeing that, please let me know and I will make sure we can get them to you in another form or in another manner here. If you have a question, you're encouraged to raise your hand or use any of the features available on screen, such as the chat feature down below or the Q&A feature. You can also choose to raise your hand and we will call on you and ask you to unmute at that time. We'd like to thank everybody for their attendance this evening. Your time is valuable and we respect that. Thank you for taking your time and investing it in learning more about how to take an active role in your public lands. If you have any questions, please refer to the different communication sites that we've set some examples out for today. Those email addresses that were presented by Miley in those various business plan locations or story maps, we can also answer questions through those as well. Official public comments, again, are encouraged through June 26th for this batch of business plans. And with that, if there are no other questions, have a good evening and thank you again. We look forward to your comments.